Getting our second day and had a very successful day yesterday. We're just going over everything here. We warmed the car up already. We changed the oil, changed the oil filter. We checked a couple valves, fine. Checked a couple head studs, great. Had a crack in the oil pan. We took it off. It's an O-ring, super easy to do. So we dropped that down. Dave happens to have a welder here. We cleaned up a weld and welded up. So we're just seeing a little bit of an oil leak back there. We don't like that on the floor. And we're gonna go back at it. So what we're doing right now, we're at 34 pounds of boost where we ended last night. We're going to jump up to about 45 pounds of boost to be our next train stop, and stay tuned. We'll let you know how it goes.
They're going to put new plugs in when we cool it off.
Okay.
And then so we'll make that hit and basically repeat that last night, and that'll be whatever today is.
That's our benchmark for today.
And then the first thing I think I'm going to do is turn the Combust up some, and we'll go explore that. You know, basically, if it hits the lambda aim, because again, I know that lambda's the right lambda.
Yep.
So if it hits the lambda aim, and it looks okay over there, then we can just keep going up until we find somewhere that isn't good.
Yeah.
Or we get to the point where we go, you know what, it's a little edgy running it here, let's put the water on.
Yeah. So you can see where it's going along, and then the boost really comes up. That's because there's a predetermined slope of boost versus timing retard, and so that tends to be pretty conservative. The boost comes up and it takes out more time than it really needs to, which is okay because it makes the engine safe and it'll make lots of runs that way. But when you're searching for efficiency and power, we kind of want to keep that flat. So we're going to work on that just a little bit here.
We are still running the 98mm Harts turbochargers. I probably haven't clarified that enough. So this is a little bit more that fits into one of the racing organizations that we'd probably end up running a little bit of pro mod with. And sometimes we don't fit in some categories, but Midwest has an association that allows us to, as far as weight breaks or categories like that. So obviously with the bigger motor, bigger turbos, bigger this and bigger all that, our minimum weight for that organization is, with the driver rated races, at 2,700, maybe 2,750, and we won't quite make it there, but it'll be close enough. So with that said, Tim here has been a great hand. He brought the hauler down, and I watched him doing a lot of stuff on here, and I just want to do an introduction with Tim here. He's been fantastic, and this is he's buying beer tonight because he's that's what we do. The new guy always has to do that. Yeah. And I won't use the word virgin because I already know you have a family, so I can't call you a virgin, but around the team you're a virgin, and so far pretty fun?
Yes.
Good.
Enjoying it.
We do a great job. You have to have the right mentality being around something like this. This is something where you don't look or touch or talk unless you want to ask a question, and that's how you learn. And this guy, he just has the right culture. He's been around racing enough that he knows enough that now's the time I can step in, I can ask a question, I can do that. It's been flawless. It's like he's already at level 5 already, you know. And of course, BJ over here has been pulling all the lashes. When we talk about all the times it's been lashed, valve covers off, lashes done before we can have a conversation, getting it slammed back in there. And of course, he's always been our road guy for the motor. Their dad is the guy that assembles the motor back at home, so it's a family affair. As you recall, there's a younger child, Cam, that was here the last session we were here. That's 3rd generation, so it's a Schmidt racing team is what's going on. So if they blackball me, I'm probably out. They're going to probably do a hostile takeover. But anyway, it goes back to, we get to run this thing alcohol. I put it alcohol. Put it in. It's because these guys are making that happen.
Eight.
That guy right there is Rat Fink. That guy is a real guy. He's got retractable fangs. Wait until you tell. Go ahead, lay it on the line, Big Daddy.
I forgot what I'm doing. I'm laying here, but so what we're doing is we're comparing dyno pulls from the last dyno session when we were here, and before we were not tuning for efficiency. We were just trying to learn. We were turning the boost up. So if you look at these lines, the blue one here, you can see we did a long pull that last time we were just starting from like 6,500 and running up there, see what we make. But the difference here is, if you look at the peak numbers, the yellow line made more power. All right, cool. Made 3767 at that one little spot. You can see it goes up and peaks there. Let me grab this guy here, and we can roll through here, right? So yes, it made about 150 more horsepower before, but only at that one spot. If you look up below it and you look up above it, what we've really done is improve the performance dramatically. For example, this thing made at 8,000 RPM about 538 more horsepower now than it made before, but that's not the impressive part. The impressive part is that yellow line before,
Wait.
that was 70 pounds of boost. We're at 42 right now. It's almost 30 pounds of boost difference. It's way less fuel we're using now. It's way more spark advance we're using now. And it's 538 horsepower better. And yes, you could say, oh, look at that. You know, this one peaked 100 and something better. But it took 70 pounds of boost to get there because we weren't working really hard on tuning it. We were just turning up the boost.
We're just using the turbo. Now
Yeah.
we're using the engine instead.
So we're gonna keep doing that, and hopefully we're gonna get to where we run out of turbo and way above this number, but with a way more efficient combination.
Okay, so a little bit of an update. Made a run here, the last run, and Shane will go over the numbers here, but we've seen to the point where we've talked about adding water to the inlet side of the turbocharger. We think we're at that point right now. We were making enough boost, and we like to see we have enough baseline to see what it does and change. We're putting new plugs in it. We did see something on a plug, and it caused us to be cautious about some things here. So now we're just a little bit nervous about that, and it's probably nothing, but well, it is something, but hopefully not something bigger. And with that said, so here is that water. It's a tank. It's just mounted temporarily. We'll permanently mount it once and if it does do what we hope it's going to do. And what does it simply, we feed boost in here. The boost reference is the same amount that's needed, so it'll be linear to the boost. It pushes the water out here down through the hoses, and there's a couple nozzles just simply setting in front of the turbocharger. It starts feeding distilled water in front of the turbocharger. We have a certain nozzle we chose just somewhere to start with, and we're going to see what that does for us in that run. Shane, do you want to get the technical side of that for us?
I mean, you pretty much covered it. The water injection system's simple. It's it's the same stuff they used in World War II on the aircraft. Basically, it sprays into the front of the turbo, and then you use the boost from the engine on top of the water in the tank to force the water out through the nozzle. And there's a check in there at like 35 pounds or whatever. So when you get more than 35 pounds of boost, the water will bypass the check, go out through the nozzle, like he said, spray in the front of the turbo. And the concept is to spray at the front of the turbo, let the turbocharger mechanically beat the air into small droplets, and then the heat from compression vaporize the water, and then feed that vaporous water mixture into the engine, because that acts as an anti-detonant, or effectively raises the octane of the fuel we're trying to use. We got some knock on that last pass, and it got the ground strap partially eroded on one of the cylinders that was knocking. The knock control was trying to take all the timing out that we allowed it to take out, and it wasn't enough to stop it. So it's time for water spray at this air-fuel ratio and this timing number. The engine's already at the point where the fuel that we're running doesn't have enough resistance to knock to keep from knocking. So it's time to feed it water and see if we can get away with more. I mean, we ought to be able to. This isn't anything new. They used this to great effect. The Allies did to win World War II. And, Harry Ricardo was working on this same concept for engines when they didn't have fuel good enough, and they had to use water in the early 1900s. So this is nothing new. This isn't like we've invented anything special. It's just a way to get around or solve a problem that we have. And the concept would be that, if we can use the water injection to offset or postpone detonation, then we can raise the power level and keep the efficiency that we're at now, and hopefully make more power and not destroy the engine. Whereas the other method is to retard the timing a bunch to try and keep from having knock or detonation, and make the mixture rich. And the result of that is that the engine runs so bad that even though you've added more boost and whatever else, you end up with the same horsepower. So we're trying to go a different route and see if we can make that successful.
Yeah, we're gonna try to make another run here and see what's gonna happen.
So I want to talk a little bit about what we're looking at with combustion data. I think oftentimes people mistakenly use terms like detonation, pre-ignition incorrectly. And so with the data, we can see the combustion process from beginning to end all throughout the cycle. So all 720 degrees, we can see intake, compression, power, exhaust, and the whole point of ignition and expansion too. So what we're looking at here, you can see the yellow trace here is our RPM from the dyno pulley. Comes up, the dyno holds it, does the sweep, comes back down. Now I'm only looking at one cylinder right now because I've picked out a few pieces of data I want to show you. But over here what we have is the cylinder pressure that most people think of, right? So you're going along, the spark happens, the pressure rises up, it comes to a peak. During this time you're hopefully pushing down on your crankshaft. But this way of looking at it isn't really that helpful. Instead, we're going to plot that cylinder pressure, which is here only about 90 degrees before TDC and about 120 after TDC. We're just focused in on that point. But you can see as we go up here, those numbers get bigger or smaller and the shapes change, right? So when we look at it over here, what we've done is we've plotted the cylinder pressure, what we call logarithmically, so it kind of expands it, and we can see it across the entire engine cycle. But in this case, it's in cylinder volume. So up here would be at top dead center, and over here we'd be at bottom dead center. So we start here, we go intake, it's coming down, we close, we go to bottom dead center, we close the intake valve, we're doing compression here, and then somewhere in here we light the spark plug and we get ignition, and then we get our expansion and power stroke here, then we open our exhaust valve and we pump it all back out. So that's a fairly normal looking engine cycle. What I want to do is I want to show you some cycles that explain the difference between pre-ignition and detonation. So pre-ignition, by definition, is when we have combustion before we intended, so it happened before the spark plug event. So I'm going to scroll over here to about 7,600 RPM or so. I've got a nice little one kind of picked out. Let's see, 76.
Tuned it all through there.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Hey, by the way, the reason it was uneven with that pull with the water injection on left to right,
yeah,
one nozzle was completely
one
plugged
was
with
okay.
shit.
Yeah, perfect. So here, if you look at our combustion pressures on this side, you can clearly see the green line is way higher earlier in the cycle, like way over here. So if I use this, if I scroll down, I can come over here and you can say, all right, this thing's peaked up here at about 4 to 5, maybe 6 degrees before top dead center, where normally I would only have between about 70 and 75 bar of pressure. But this green line here is 250 bar. It's almost 4 times as much cylinder pressure before top dead center while that piston's trying to come up, and that's where all the damage can happen as you're trying to push that down. But take a look at what that looks like over on this side. When we're coming up on our compression stroke, right? If we didn't do any ignition, this line would just continue all the way straight up like this to top dead center, and it would never go above that line because the only pressure rise we'd get is from the temperature and pressure increase from my piston going up. But here we can see if this is top dead center, anything this way is before top dead center. Way back over here, my combustion starts, my ignition happened even though I hadn't sparked the plug yet. So because it's starting to have combustion here, the pressures and temperatures in the cylinders are rising at the same time the piston's coming up, making my volume smaller. So we end up with really high pressures here, right? But the pressure's relatively smooth as it goes up and down. So you don't generally pick up the pre-ignition on a knock sensor. So you can't really fix pre-ignition by retarding your timing because the whole thing happened before the spark ever started anyway. You can close the throttle, you could try dumping a bunch of fuel in there, or in our case, water injection, but just moving your spark timing around probably isn't gonna stop the detonation. I'm sorry, the pre-ignition. Let's go look at what detonation looks like over here at about 7,800 RPM. The pre-ignition often leads to the detonation. The biggest thing here is you still see this big spike, but notice it's way later in the cycle because the detonation happens after my spark event. And now we get this huge pressure spike. This one's almost 300 bar of pressure. We're at that same spot. We're normally only around 90 to 100, so we're about 3 times more pressure there in the cylinder. Now, if you calculate that out on the Sorceress engine, that's a 4900 bore. So if you take 300 bar worth of pressure, around 4,800 PSI, and you got somewhere in the neighborhood of about, I don't know, 18 or so square inches of area in the bore, it works out to a force that's trying to push down on your piston, push up on your cylinder head, trying to crush the piston and the connecting rod. It's trying to bend the crankshaft. That force is about 90,000 pounds of force right there. Way more than you're supposed to have in the engine. So you kind of understand why stuff goes crazy. But the dead giveaway here that it's detonation and not pre-ignition is that it happened after my spark event, and you get this violent pressure ringing or oscillation here on the downward side. So the frequency that it's ringing at and the amplitude, how strong it is, are what typically triggers the noise that triggers your knock sensor. And so because this happened after the spark event, oftentimes you can retard the timing and get it to stop. Now, you're giving up a little performance when you do that, but it's better than giving up a few pistons. So hopefully that helps you understand a little bit more the difference between normal combustion, pre-ignition, and detonation.
All right, so we're running here, and we've started to do something unique we've never done before. And we talked about the water injection, and we're introducing it in front of the turbo. And it does seem like it's yielding us the capability to move on up with the tune-up. So it takes the edge off the tune-up. It makes it more forgiving, and it gives you the opportunity to get a little more after it. And what I mean by that, it's typically just pure boost. So what you do is you can keep on moving up. If you got the capability of adding more boost, and we surely do, we got a lot left in these Harts Turbos. So right now, the last one we made, we're at 52 pounds. And I want you guys to comment when you see this. Whenever this gets posted, I want you guys to comment. At 52 pounds of boost, we made almost as much power as the last time we were here. So if you guys are paying attention, you know about right where we're at right now, what we're barking with here. So
we've started experimenting with water injection, and so with the water injection, it allows us to keep our tune-up more aggressive instead of, like I was talking about before, where you had to be super rich and super lazy on timing. So I think it's interesting that we're able to keep making more power, but I think what's way more interesting is the shape of the power curve. If you look up there, you could see, you know, in the old days it would go up and it would almost be a triangle. You'd peak and it would start coming right back down as your RPMs went up. We've gained over 1,000 RPMs of usable range in this thing by, you know, being able to trust the valve train enough, obviously, but really getting the tune-up right. So we're still in here making some more adjustments to try to get more water because, you know, if some is good, more is better. But we're going to continue to try to turn the boost up and see if we can't max these turbos out before too long.
I've reduced myself to tuning with drill bits.
So hey Shane, you know what's funny? We're over here using these water jets to do our water injection. These are like from a methanol injector thing, and we're over here reading spark plugs to be safe. So even with all this sophistication, you got Motec, I got combustion analysis, we got dyno.
We got $300,000 worth of shit, and we're back to
Changing
spark
jets
plugs
and reading spark plugs.
Yeah, changing jets. And using drills to make the jets bigger.
Yeah.
hey, what are you guys talking about over here? You fuckers are both fired.
We're talking about
You're out of here. You're done. I got this.
Oh, here you go. You take it from here.
Okay, I need a 90-year-old man with a cigar or something.
Some big socks
and good glasses and a magnifying glass.
That's all you need.
And a little peanut can to drain the bowls, you know, from the carburetors.
Yeah,
Right?
so you can get all the fuel out of it.
You get all the fuel out of it.
That's
yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
We're just gonna have to keep doing it the old-fashioned way.
But we got to verify. You got to test, and you got to
What
get
did
your data
Reagan
to
say?
verify. Who?
Reagan said, "Trust but verify."
All my friends who run mechanical injection will be so proud of me drilling this Enderley nozzle jet. But that is a 42% increase in flow area from what we just ran, so that should be a significant amount more water. See if it does anything.
Stop bullshitting. We've got to stop bullshitting people. These guys are smarter than that. They know that's a nitrous nozzle. So bottom line, we got caught. We got caught. Yep. I can't help it. We got to let the cat out of the bag a little bit. We're just so happy. This is a journey everybody's going along. I'm going to tell you right now that our session here at the dyno is better than the last one. So you guys all seen what we did last time. It's better. And it's better by so much that can we give them a calculation, just a tidbit? You know, another thing, let's segue to this. So what's really important too is what's the usable horsepower, usable power that the vehicle can make through its usable range, whatever it is, if it's off-roading, if it's powerboat racing, whatever it is. Our number here that we have in usable range, I won't even give you a calculation because there's no way it's calculable that you would understand and swallow.
How about a raw number?
You want to give them a raw number?
Just let's talk about the difference in power at 8,000.
Let's give them one tidbit.
So the reality is,
here we go.
From the old setup, now you have to understand, previously the way we had to tune the engine was to be ultra conservative. But the reality is that's the way we ran the engine. So at 8,000 RPM, what we have today is 1,000 more horsepower. With less boost, because
less boost.
Before it had 76 pounds of boost. Today we have 65 pounds of boost. If that's not worth the effort, I don't know what is.
My gosh, huh? We need to come back here again.
It's got to be the dyno.
So how's that for a tidbit? 66 runs. Let's go make our 67th run. That is pretty impressive. It's awesome. A lot of power. It was so smooth, and right when I hit it, it could tell the difference. It was pretty hardy. So it's 42 pounds is where we selected to start on that. So we're gonna jack it up here some now.
So what we're going to do, you need the plug so that you can plug the line that's going from the turbo to the bottom of the gate. So if you take the reference line off the bottom of the wastegate, the only thing that can make the wastegate open at that point is exhaust manifold pressure against the surface area of the wastegate valve. So you take the lift pressure away from the bottom of the diaphragm, it means whatever's on top of the diaphragm works harder to hold the wastegate shut. Right? So I'm going to stick more CO2 on top of the wastegate, but if we take the reference line off the bottom, there's about no chance it's going to be able to open the wastegate. You know, this is full send.
So this is a wrap here. That was our last run right there. We did some tuning. We knew we were on the edge and probably just tired. It's midnight, and we made one last run. We put some timing in it. Probably purposely trying to find out if there's more there or not, you know. There's more there. We just went too quickly and too big of a bite, but it's a big number. You guys are going to see it. Pretty impressive. I don't know. I think we got like 80 runs that we did this dyno session just in this one engine. And I mean, we're learning and refining. I mean, we're not the best and never claim to be the best. We're just doing our own thing here and trying to learn, and we learned a lot again, and that's a big success in our book. And I want to thank Shane and Ben, their wisdom and intuition with this whole thing, and the rest of the team, Rick at the shop and Junior here, and BJ and Tim came in and helped out. It's a lot of work, you know, but there it is. It's still in one piece yet. We have a head gasket that's gone, so we can't run it any longer. That's what happened. So it sneezing around on number 8. We're starting to get water in the cylinder, so we got to wrap this thing up. But other than that, I mean, I could maybe drive it out on 7 cylinders or something stupid like that. But I don't know what else you could do to make it better. We started adding water injection. We still have a lot to learn with that. We're not sure if this is a resting spot for compression at 10-to-1, but we're going to go back and analyze it. But I think this dyno session here was a bigger milestone for us than the last one even. I mean, the last one, and maybe I'm discounting too much because we've proven all the hardware. The valve train is bulletproof, still proving that. And now we're tuning it, getting it. Just so you know, when you get to this level where we're at here, all it wants to do is hurt itself, and you got to keep it from happening. That's exactly what we're doing. We're just keeping the gorilla in the cage happy. We didn't want to lead it around the cage with a bat. We wanted to grab some handful of bananas, and that's what you have to do, literally just like that. And I think we ran out of bananas, and we decided to go enter it with the club, and it didn't work, so it got us. But it's a good old girl. I'm going to tell you what, the useful horsepower of this, the range that we're running with this whole thing, I have no idea how fast this thing's going to go, but it's going to be a lot faster, and we're going to leave you a lot quicker. So, and that's what we're after, right, Ben?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know how you could leave this session feeling bad.
Oh, unbelievable. I think we're going to have a drink of beer here. So I want to thank, once again, Shane and Ben with EFI University. I want to thank Harts Turbo. I want to thank ARP. Has been on board all along. Advanced Lubricants does a good job with their oil. We keep going and going and going. Changed the oil filter once and put some new oil once in. So Grant stuck his head out there, did a super custom deal. He knew it was going to be a 3-year overhaul, and take something on that and see it all the way through. Take somebody that's not just their daily job. It's a passion. And
Now, would we make probably 60 or 70 dyno pulls over the last 2 or 3 days? And I think we checked the last 3 times or something.
yeah,
It's amazing.
that's testament to him, you know. Manton push rods, that's what's keeping this thing so stuck. Matt at Exceladine Springs, we're still going yet. Just a lot of good people and a lot of good parts to make this all happen. And you cannot have one weak link in here to get this far. And we put all the links together, that's for sure. So thanks everybody for your support, and more to come. Thank you.